All right. So now the external carotid artery, likewise, um, what we need to discuss for the external carotid artery, just like the maxillary artery, is we need to discuss origin, termination, course. We don't need to talk about the relations, but we need to talk about the branches. Okay, so branches is right here. Um, uh, all right. So the external carotid artery, I'm going to take you back without splitting it first. If you have an external carotid artery, you definitely have an internal carotid artery. And they both come out of something called the common carotid artery. Okay? The common carotid artery splits into external and internal. The external is what we're going to talk about today. Okay? So the origin of the external carotid artery, it arises as one of the two terminal branches of the common carotid artery, where at the border of the thyroid cartilage. And I will get you this. See here? That's the thyroid cartilage, and it's saying it's at the border where the split happens, um, to give us the external carotid artery. If you need a relation with the vertebrae, it's at the level of C3 and C4. Okay? So the first thing we have to know, origin. Origin of the external carotid artery, it arises as one of the two terminal branches of the common carotid artery at the level of C3 and C4, and at the edge of the thyroid cartilage. Okay? Now, where does it terminate? It terminates behind the neck of mandible. Isn't this what we said? It terminates at the neck of mandible. It divides into two. The maxillary artery, the one we discussed just a little bit ago, and the superficial temporal artery. Is that clear?
Yeah.
Okay. The maxillary artery we've discussed so deeply right now. And the superficial temporal artery is a branch of it, okay? Now, this is the artery. Starts here. We know the origin and we know the termination. Now, the course is what we need to study next, like how does it pass? And finally, we will study the branches. What comes out of it? Okay. Now, the course. It ascends on the side of the pharynx. It ascends on the side of the pharynx. It's outside the carotid sheath. It is outside the carotid sheath. Okay. And it passes deep to the posterior belly of digastric muscle. It ascends on the side of the pharynx. Okay, and if you want the pharynx, give me a second. Yeah, pharynx is, let me a second. Where is it? Give me a second here. Yes, the pharynx is made up of muscle. You have a superior constrictor, inferior constrictor. Okay, and you can see that all of this, you can see this no here, this middle pharyngeal, inferior pharyngeal constrictors, these are the muscles found in the walls of the pharynx. And so when they say that the external carotid artery is passing on the side of the pharynx, makes sense. And hey, there are two external carotids, it's not just one. We're talking about two things here, one and two. It's right and left. And here in this region lies the pharynx and the larynx, but the pharynx is found more posteriorly. Okay. Uh, posteriorly and superior to larynx, because pharynx continues as esophagus, or it can give opening to the larynx. Okay. Now, it's found on the sides of the pharynx. It passes deep to the posterior belly of digastric. See, it's deep to it. It goes from common carotid, passes up on the side of the pharynx, deep to the posterior belly of digastric muscle, and um, it enters the gland, which is the parotid gland. The parotid gland is so important. See, see, it's not very clear here, but it enters the gland, the parotid gland. Okay, that's the course.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar.
1 second, I think Habib has a question. Okay, so she wants me to just repeat. Okay, again, origin, it arises as one of the terminal branches of common carotid artery, and it arises where the common carotid artery splits into two, the common carotid and internal carotid, where at the edge of the thyroid cartilage, where at the level of C3, C4. Now it ends behind the neck of mandible. Now the course, first, it moves on the side of pharynx deep to the posterior belly of digastric muscle and enters the parotid gland. That's it. Okay. Deal? طيب. Now, let's talk about the branches. What comes out of this artery? What makes it very important? Okay. There's so much that happens here. So much. And we need to know at the end, we said the origin, the termination, the course, and the endings. Remember, it becomes maxillary and superficial, or yes, superficial temporal artery. Okay, superficial temporal artery and maxillary. That's the ending. So it begins from the common carotid with the internal carotid. Okay, becomes external carotid, goes up into the course that we said, splits into two, maxillary and superficial temporal. From the body, the endings we know. From the body, we need to know the branches. Okay. The branches, there are 8 of them. 8. Number 1, superior thyroid artery. Of course, superior thyroid, it will supply the superior, it comes from the superior side, supplying thyroid gland. Lingual artery supplies something related to the tongue. Facial artery supplies something related to the face, and we have talked about it. This is the one. Here. Facial artery goes and supplies the external part of the face. Occipital artery goes posteriorly towards the occipital bone. Posterior auricular, which is this one. Ascending pharyngeal. Ascending pharyngeal. Like, again, of course, it's going to be something related to pharynx. The maxillary artery, the one we discussed before, which is this one. And finally, superficial temporal, the ending. And the nice thing about this is you can say so much about these branches without even starting to talk about them. Superior thyroid artery, lingual artery, facial artery arise from the anterior aspect. Look, when we talk about it, this part here is the anterior border, and this part here is the posterior border or posterior aspect. Okay. From the anterior aspect, the first line comes out superior thyroid, lingual artery, and facial artery. And let's see. Hmm. That's the facial artery. One second. But that's more medial, okay? Um, let's see where we can see. Let's see, for example, what's this one? Nope. It's from the maxillary. It's not very accurate here, but we'll try. Yes, lingual artery and superior thyroid. See? So from the anterior aspect, we have three. First, superior thyroid, and I can show you. Digestive. Look, what's this? Ta-da, thyroid. So superior thyroid is the first branch here. Superior thyroid artery arises from the anterior aspect of the external carotid artery. Then comes the lingual. The lingual artery. Where is it going? Look. It's going towards the tongue. That's the tongue. That's the tongue. Lingual artery. Okay? It's here. Then we have, on the notes, it says facial artery. And those three arise from the anterior aspect of the external carotid artery, supplying thyroid gland, tongue, and the face. Okay. Next, occipital artery, posterior auricular artery. Occipital artery and posterior auricular. It arises from posterior aspect. So now, watch. This is the posterior aspect, right? And we talked about two branches. 1, 2. This is the posterior auricular, and this is the occipital. And you can see, check my words. Occipital artery. And this is posterior auricular artery. Now, ascending pharyngeal, it was here. Look. And it says from the medial aspect, which means that it comes out somewhere from like behind the screen, basically. And I think it's this one. There we go. Ascending palatine. No, is it palatine or pharyngeal? Wait,
Pharyngeal.
pharyngeal, right? But
Yeah.
I'll find it here on the animation. Medial, which is ascending. That's palatine. Trying to find the pharyngeal. Ah, probably here. There we go. Ascending pharyngeal. Okay, ascending pharyngeal. And finally, the maxillary and superficial temporal. These are the terminal branches. See, terminal branches, maxillary and superficial on the notes. Okay. All right. So far, so good. Does it make sense?
Hatham, in my notes, it's sub-branched into three different this thing.
Sorry, can you
Rather
repeat
than
your question?
being anterior posterior, in my notes, it's ventral, medial, and dorsal branches. Is that all right?
Yes, because bro, in the anatomy words, you sometimes use dorsal and ventral, brother.
All right, cool.
Yes, you words of anatomy can like direction notes of anatomy, dorsal and ventral, but anterior aspect, posterior aspect, medial aspect can also work. But does it make sense?
Yeah, it does.
And like you don't need to know so much shit about this. Like we don't need to dive deeper into this because it's too much. But look, if
Hmm.
you say superior thyroid, it has branches, but you know where it's going. It's going through thyroid gland. Okay, lingual artery. Um, it of course will supply structures of the tongue. And you know so much structures of the tongue. Look, higher glosses. You can see here submandibular duct, terminal branches of hypoglossal nerve, lingual nerve. Um, like you know, all the things that are in this region are supplied by the tongue. And if it's gonna supply the tongue, it should supply the muscles of the tongue, you know? Um, okay. Facial artery, you have already studied this because this is a separate uh point in your oral issue. And we've said that the facial artery comes out of the external carotid artery um uh at the angle of mandible. It winds around and reaches the lower anterior border of the masseteric muscle. It will go up and forward until it becomes the angular at the angle of the eye. It has branches such as inferior labial, superior labial, um, yes, nasal branch, and it becomes the angular. So when you talk about the external carotid artery, and let's say you want to talk about the branches, start with the ones that you already know. Facial artery, you can talk about it as much as you want because it's a point in your oral issues. Maxillary artery is a point that we just covered. You can start talking about it, right? And if he still needs you to talk about the other branches and where they go through, you will take 3 hours. So, you know, facial artery, maxillary artery is the safest arteries to start with if he wants you to talk in detail about the branches that are in there. Okay? Occipital artery, you can see where it goes. Posterior auricular here, superior temporal, um, superficial temporal, ascending pharyngeal that we talked about. And from the name of the artery, you can guess where the artery is going and supplies what. You can read about these things more if you want. I can send you screenshots, but and you can add a little bit of notes in there for every branch of the external carotid artery. But I'm telling you, to study smart, okay? You can use other oral issues in an oral issue that you're studying to save your ass because you already memorized that, okay? يعني if I go here and I share, okay? And I'm studying number 12. And we know now in number 12, external carotid artery, we know now we have a branch maxillary artery and facial artery part of your external carotid artery. The only thing you need to know is origin, termination, course, branches. You have to memorize the name of the branches for sure. But to talk in detail about each branch, start with the ones that you already know, 11 and 12. Here, sorry. 11, 11 and 10. Okay, facial artery and maxillary artery are branches of the external carotid artery. If he's waiting for you to continue to talk about these branches in detail and where they're going, start with the facial artery and start with the and then maxillary artery. And then if he's still waiting, which I doubt, okay, because it's a lot of information right now. If you finish talking about the maxillary artery in the answer of the external carotid artery, come on, like it's a lot of shit. Okay, so don't memorize everything else. Like don't go and memorize um the details of superior thyroid, the details of lingual, the details of occipital, the details of posterior auricular. Okay, don't. خلاص, you have two arteries memorized, which are huge and amazing. For the rest, just say the names and move on. Okay, for your sake, because you have a lot to cover. Okay, خلاص. This is the external carotid. Easy.
Yeah.
Okay. Um. All right, brother. Highlight this one. You've did it already, I think. Okay. Let's see. Uh, Ahmed, remind me next time we start with 8 and 9, okay?
Okay, sure.
so that we, finish all the muscles of the arm. Okay. We will have in the muscles about 4 points left, which is kind of cool, you know. And we have covered almost all of the arteries that are present here. Yes, we did. See? Boom, 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 boom. All of those we've covered. This might be left. Okay. Let me do now. I wanted to do four, but I realized it's a lot. Um, Let me cover something that is maybe small. Um, mm, how much time do you have left? Do you know, bro?
Uh, we started at 8, right? For us, we have like half an hour left.
Okay, cool, 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 cool. Okay. Um, oh, bro, didn't we do nasal cavity and paranasal sinuses in osteology? Because this point was part of osteology this time.
We did not do sinus because we finished way before these guys started. So
I think I have done it, bro. Remember when you were, I don't know if you were in my home, but I've discussed the sinuses and their openings into the nasal cavity.
you mean the nasal meatrices and the sinus? They're covered with like or like cavities and stuff.
Like how I don't know if you were there, bro, but there was a lesson that I drew on the board. I don't Let me know if you were there. I drew on the board and I told them how there are doors from the nasal sinuses entering the nose, and the names of each door. Yeah, I
I
remember
don't think so.
showing
I
the
was there.
hiatus similionaris and stuff. But okay, if you weren't there, then we have to finish it together. Um, okay. Yeah, the soft palate is crazy. Soft palate is like a spider. It's like a spider. Uh, okay. Mm. Superficial and deep muscles of the neck is crazy. It's a lot. I'll do it later. Superficial and deep. I finished these arteries. Very good. Brachiocephalic vein, maybe. Okay, let's probably do veins of the upper limb. 20. Yes, Habiba said we did it because she was there that day. Okay, but I'll repeat it some other day. Um, all right, let's do veins of the upper limb. Uh, Here. Okay. Veins of the upper limb. Let me see here. Let me just pause this recording.